Good evening, you beautiful people out there. Happy Wednesday. You're listening to the Shelley Tasker Show on radiosoapbox.com and Clear Air FM, the sound of freedom.
Apologies. Muted there. Muted. Good evening, folks. It is the Shelley Tasker Show. I am Mr. Scott. And what have we got coming up this evening? Cornwall sees surge in housing applications. Wow. As if we didn't have enough already.
Pushing fast with the whole digital ID, NatWest's app. It now carries and shows your carbon footprint.
Oh dear. Oh dear. Talking of which, climate disasters the most costly on record in the last year. I wonder why.
And the NHS, they're going to make all of the NHS have anti-Semitism training. Why wouldn't you? I can only pray, just forget about me.
And this week I learnt what a tantalus was. I'll share that with you in a bit.
Oh, I'm excited. Wow, there we are. Good evening, you beautiful people, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, whoever's listening. As I said, you are listening to the Shelley Tasker Show, along with my wonderful co-host, Mr. Mallifficus Scott. And we are going live on radiosoapbox.com and also being re-aired on Clear Air FM, the sound of freedom. Good evening, Mr. Scott. How are you doing?
I have to say, it's nice to be called wonderful once in a while. Thank you for that.
That's all right. It's all a lie.
Yeah, well, I know, but they don't know that.
We hate each other off air.
Never speak.
How are you doing?
Yeah, no, I'm good. Although it's been, I know British, the weather and all that, but this week has been cold and wet. Shelley, I've been out in the cold and wet working, and it's not been very nice.
You did decide to become a gardener.
Well, it kind of chose me, to be fair. But, there's nothing better than working with nature. There's nothing better than working with nature. I love it.
And your beautiful wife, having your romantic little times in gardens and stuff.
Oh, yes.
I'm going to bring that up every week.
Lots of those. But, she had peanut butter sandwiches today. So
did she? And what did you have?
Coronation chicken roll. That was lovely.
How posh.
Yeah, indeed.
Dining in style, outside,
in the drizzle. Yeah, lovely.
I'm actually enjoying it now. It's like getting darker, and I know it's dark in the mornings, and today it's been quite dark from probably about midday, actually. And then the rain
you like this time of year then?
I like all times of the year. I love summer, and don't get me wrong, when we're in winter and we're coming out of it into spring, usually springtime, I'm ready for that sunshine, but I do like the change of seasons, yes.
Yeah, I must admit, I must admit, I love every year seeing the leaves change on the trees. One of the places that I go to, she's got like these beautiful maple trees that start off, they're really pale green all summer, and then they go through all manner of colour changes while they give everything back to the tree. So that they go like yellow, and then they go like really dark red and pink and purple and mauve and all these. It's a huge tree, so there's a big spray of colour at the end of the year. It's just beautiful. It's like a massive like freeze frame of a firework going off that just changes very, very gradually.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love walking through all the leaves that are on the floor and like crunching on them and stuff like that. Just, yeah, I'm a bit nostalgic with things like that. And, it's nearly Halloween. And obviously I've got a 12-year-old and they get excited about things like that. And it's like, Mum, when are you going to decorate the house? And every year I think, are we done with this yet? But I've realised that, do you know what, I'll probably always carry on because I've got a loft full of like Halloween decorations and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's got to be done.
It's one of the. It's funny. Halloween came up. I went and saw my dad. My dad had a big lump cut off of his ear earlier this week.
Oh, crikey.
Yeah. Well, he spent a lot of his life in Cornwall. And back in the 60s and 70s, all you did really was wear a pair of very short denim shorts, and that's about it. I mean, my dad's shorts, I used to think they were quite disgraceful, actually. That short, bloody hell, but no, and he served also in the RAF, and he was out in Aden, which obviously, it's really hot all the time in Aden. And, he's... he's been living with skin cancer for years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But this particular one, I think it was a bit of a dodgy one. She was only supposed to be taking a little bit off the top of his ear, and then I'm going to share this with you because it made my toes curl a bit, right? So I'm not. If anyone's a bit squeamish, don't listen for a couple of minutes. Right? No, but so. Basically, she said, I'm just going to shave a little bit off the top of your ear, basically. And when she actually got into it, obviously this thing must have had some sort of root, which, that tends to be quite nasty cancers, actually, so it's a bit of a worry until we know what the score is. But so she actually cut a big incision down his ear and then had to stitch it all back up again afterwards. So one ear is I won't say considerably or even really that noticeably smaller than the other, but it definitely is. Do you know what I mean?
I'm going to be dreaming about that.
So he had 8 stitches. No, but this is the thing that is a bit toe curling, right? So obviously he had anaesthetic for the incisions and blah, 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 blah. He said, but it was really strange. He said, because obviously it's right next to your ear and you can still hear perfectly. It doesn't anaesthetize the volume. And so he could hear all this crunching and like slicing and dicing and puncturing and you can't even imagine, like right next to your eardrum. Can't have been pleasant. So yeah, there you go, there's my toe curler for this week, folks. Sorry, you can all listen again now, it's fine. I promise not to do it again.
No, I can't stand anything like that. Any procedure, knock me out. Even having a tooth removed years ago, crikey, I was on loads of diazepam, I was crying. And then I said, I think I'm going to faint. And he took my pulse and he put the chair back and he was like, crikey, you're not wrong, are you? But then within a minute, you're thrown out because the next person's come in and he just checked that I could walk down the stairs okay from the shock. But yeah, off you go on your way.
Oh, my word. Yeah. I mean, yeah, no, the dentist is not a very nice thing. But having said that, having been in there with a serious toothache before, all that fear of going to it's not nice having someone prodding and poking about in your mouth, is it? No. And I think most people, if they're at all sane, have some sort of fear of the dentist, even if it's mild, But I have to admit,
my brother used to go as kids, we would argue who was going to go first and get it over with,
Yeah, I think all kids did. I think that was through encouragement by the parents, though. I think, more. I think a little bit of coercion, a little bit of rivalry. No, I'm going to do it first. No, she went first last time. He can go first this time. That sort of thing. No, but I think all that fear of the dentist is completely outweighed, I think, by any pain you might be in. And I think when I went to the dentist with quite a bad tooth, I had a wisdom tooth that came through. Sorry, folks, it's a bit boring, isn't it? But I had a wisdom tooth that came through, but it didn't fully erupt. So part of it was trapped under the gum, and it there's nothing I couldn't clean it. So I had to have that extracted. But as soon as the needle went in, that was minor compared to the pain I'd been used to. And then suddenly this whole wave of, I can't feel it at all. Oh my goodness, it's so nice. So I think very quickly you kind of get over it, I think.
You do. But I've always said I would rather give birth than go to the dentist or have toothache, to be fair, because that is agonising.
Well, it's insidious, isn't it? You can't get rid of it.
Shelling peas giving birth, it's easy.
Shelling peas.
Like shelling peas.
Right. Yeah. I'll ask me missus about that. See what she says. Yeah.
Well, you've had 3, haven't you? You've got 3.
Well, not me personally. Yes, I mean I am a father of 3, but she had to give birth to them. So yeah, I wouldn't like to suggest. One of my friend actually, if you're listening, Rhinelander, sorry, close your ears, but he came round and he kind of upset my missus a little bit because he said, "Oh no, it's because when he was talking about what pain he'd been in with his ankles and stuff, and." Charles was like, I've given birth. And he was like, yeah, but it's different. He said, women have a far higher pain tolerance than men do. It's been proven. It didn't go down too well.
No, I can imagine. Yeah. So what have you been up to?
Apart from creating little dragons' lairs and things in gardens, so that was quite a fun project I did this week.
That did look nice. I was kind of like, did you make that dragon? I thought
no,
more and more artistic by the week.
I mean, if I had the tools, I would give it a go. But no,
would it look like that? I'd like to see.
It might, but it'd probably take a year or two. Do you know what I mean? Right, I'm just going to do a little bit more on that and chisel away a bit more detail.
Yeah.
And, no, but so one of the ladies that I help out, she's got this patch in her garden that she didn't know what to do with, and a tree had fallen over nearby, and the tree surgeon had been in to cut it all down and chop it up into bits, but the root was still there, so I had to literally dig out the root. And this is, bear in mind, it was quite a little bit waterlogged as well. This blooming thing, I don't know how much it weighed. It was a lot. It really weighed a lot. I mean, it was a trunk that I couldn't get my arms around. Do you know what I mean? It was, probably a good couple of feet around, between my hands, and I'm 6'1", so that's probably about a 7 foot diameter. So I had to actually physically manhandle that into the little space that we'd created inside, like an area of the garden that hadn't been used, and it's all surrounded by rhododendrons, but nothing's grown inside it. So we've just cleared out the inside and put an archway in either side, and manhandled this tree trunk. That was physically grueling. And then, fixed this beautiful dragon sculpture that she'd brought to the top of it, nice and securely, and then promptly cut down a dead fir tree that had been needed taking down for a long time. We cut that down, and all the branches on it, it was the type of fir tree where the branches sag downwards and then curl upwards.
Right.
And so we cut all the little wispy bits of branch off and everything, and she then created a little nest around the top of the tree stump where I'd fixed the dragon. So that was quite a cool little project. It's better than dredging a lagoon, for goodness sake. So yeah.
Oh, it sounds rewarding.
Rewarding. But I've just got soaking wet, loads of this week. So, and once you're wet, you can't get unwet.
And you wear waterproofs?
No, it's pointless. It's pointless. I'll tell you why it's pointless. Because you can buy the most expensive, breathable waterproofs in the world. And doing the sort of work I do, which largely, you've got to admit, in Cornwall, probably revolves around dealing with brambles and all sorts of other prickly things like roses and blah, 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 blah. So one interaction, doesn't matter how cheap or expensive your waterproofs are, one interaction with a bramble plant, a blackberry bush, and they don't work anymore.
Yeah, I suppose. I suppose.
So it's kind of
Yeah.
like, well, I may as well just have a change of clothes in the van and just get wet. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Well, we're supposed to have rain, I think, for the next week. It's on
Yeah,
my
all
weather
right,
forecast app.
all right.
Yeah, I'm glad I don't work outside this time of year. Yes.
Keeps me fit and healthy, I have to say.
Exactly. Breathing in the fresh air and all of that.
Breathing, despite the elements, it keeps you fit and healthy. All those natural pathogens that are floating around in the atmosphere that help you combat all those. I rarely get ill. I got a bit ill a couple of weeks ago, and everyone else had been knocked for six by this cold that had gone through the house, and it lasted literally about a day and a half, 2 days tops.
That's not bad for a man cold, is it?
It's not bad at all, and I
Climbing,
wasn't
no.
really under the weather with it either. I was still going to work and all that kind of stuff. Do you know what I mean?
You manned up, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah,
Good.
there we go.
Good.
What about yourself? What have I bet you've been
What
up
have I
to
been up
exciting
to?
things this week.
Oh,
I've just got this inkling that you have.
have you? Have you?
Yeah.
Well, I've been busy partying. No, I've been out. It's funny because every weekend, Piran goes with his dad for the weekend, and we do make the most of it, obviously, because Darren hasn't had any gigs for a few weeks. So it's like, right, we'll be out Saturday night, we'll be out Sunday night. So I've actually been to the cinema twice this weekend, and I've been out for food twice. And then the last couple of days, we've had processed food because I've just got into the habit of being lazy. It's just been busy, you know. It's
Yeah.
I say on a Wednesday, I said to Darren, what are you going to have? Because obviously I've got radio, and you all seem to be late on a Wednesday, and I haven't got time to be faffing around. He's like, I'll have a tin of beans and sausages on toast. Job done. Wonderful.
Job done. Yeah. I mean,
Job
yeah.
done.
I mean,
Yeah.
I must admit, I don't know what's in those sausages, but I
Oh, who
quite
cares?
like them.
Yeah,
They're not
yeah.
like sausages I've ever cooked at home. That's for sure.
No,
But
no.
yeah, they're more like faggots, aren't they? Like, can I even say that on the radio? Can I even say
Well,
that on the
probably
radio? I'm
not.
not sure.
Yeah, you could,
No,
Joe.
as in the food,
I know
food.
what you mean.
Um,
But
just to clarify.
could have interpreted it wrongly, yes.
Yeah.
Could have offended someone.
Well,
So,
so let them be offended. It's fine. They won't catch
Yeah.
leprosy. It's okay.
yeah. So I've just literally, I could become a film critic because we've got one of these movie magic cards that gives you discount every time you go. And we watched a movie called Tron, amazing. And it's all about like the future of computers and stuff like that. Really good. Really
Is this
thought-provoking.
a remake of the 80s Tron?
Yes.
Oh,
But
okay.
it was, digitally wise, the viewing experience and stuff. And you can't beat a big screen, can you?
No.
So
you
that
can't.
was really good, and it really got me thinking actually about where we are going with computers and the capabilities of them. That was on the Saturday night, and then on the Sunday we watched a film called I Swear, and it's based on the true story of a guy with Tourette's syndrome.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I'll tell you what, yeah, it was a sad story to it, but it was also so very funny.
Of course
I
it
do.
is.
I like watching TikToks on people with Tourette's and all. And they got to be a point. My daughter said that she had to stop watching them because she was worried that she was gonna wake up and just start ticking one day. And it must be
It's not
horrendous.
contagious.
I know, but you just think, this is.
Having
fully
said
like
that,
all the
having
taste
said
on
that, there were old people in the old people's home that I worked in that didn't have dementia, and they convinced themselves that they had.
it. Right.
That's an odd thing, isn't it? So yeah, no, I get where you're going. I get where she's going with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Just don't watch anymore, just in case, because they can just come out of nowhere. I mean, it doesn't necessarily start when you're a child or anything like that. And the singer Lewis Capaldi, all the stress and I believe that he started ticking like later on in his career. And I watched an interview of him on the Jonathan Ross show the other day. And I love his music, but he's like twitching away and swearing. And he said that he's had to come out and say, I've got Tourette's, because everybody thought I was on cocaine with all the twitching I'm doing and everything. But I've seen videos of people trying to interview people, and then they're like, "Oh, I can't even say them," because they're always really rude things that they say, really rude, because it's just what automatically comes in their thought, and film, it's there. So,
Yeah.
okay, anyway, but no, good film. So, yeah, cinema twice, food out, birthdays. It's been my mum's birthday. It's been my grandson's birthday.
Oh, happy birthday to your mum and happy birthday to your
Yeah.
grandson.
Yeah, an expensive week. Bloody birthdays. They never stop. I'd like to think we had 1 month where there's not a birthday, but hey, it's only money.
It's
Yeah.
only money. Yeah. Yeah. It's true. It's only money. I know we need it to survive, but we are the only idiots that pay to live on the planet. Let's face it.
Indeed, indeed. And it just makes me think actually what people buy as presents and stuff, because I don't think I'm tight, but maybe I've not got out of like the whole concept. We've always had like £25 off my mum and dad for birthdays and £25 for Christmas. And I suppose the value of money has gone up, but like I spent £30 on my grandson, absolutely fine. And then I see another set of grandparents came in, just give him £60 cash, another one, a present and 30 quid cash. I was like, crikey, am I tight or something? I think they're just did. Or perhaps actually it's their guilt that they don't see him that much. Perhaps I would be like that. That sounds really bitchy, but you can't buy these things, can you?
No,
Time.
no, you
No.
can't buy time. No, it's the. I've got to say
I'll
it
be damned
again.
if I'm working a whole day for somebody's birthday. Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, yeah, absolutely. But time is, as I've said so many times, is the most precious commodity that we have been granted on this planet. And the older you get, the more precious it becomes. It
Yeah.
goes up in value. The longer you're here. So
Definitely.
yeah,
Definitely.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's whatever happened to it's the thought that counts. Anyway,
Exactly. Exactly. And I always say to my children, don't go skint on my behalf. There's nothing I really want anyway, just a gesture. But they all seem to be like they all go out so much. I don't mean go out. I mean, they just, to me, they overspend. I know it's nice, but I wish they wouldn't, because I think, lots of people struggling with money and what have you. But yeah, I suppose it's what people, yeah, I spend more on them at Christmas than birthdays, but we've all got our own little ways, haven't we?
yeah, yeah. I mean, um, I was going to say, about talking about these celebrations. You were talking about Halloween earlier, and my this came up earlier in the week, and my dad said, all this Halloween nonsense. He said we never had it before the blooming Americans came here, and it's been a staple since then. And it's such a for my dad's generation, it's like what's all that about, really? Like, so, and he's only, what is he, 80, 84. So I mean that's a ripe old age, don't get me wrong, but
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's all a nonsense to him. Just one of those things that was imported over with the Americans.
Well, it's another marketing clause, isn't it? It's yeah.
Well, it's
But
the
the
thing
kids
is, it
like
keeps
it.
what's irritating is that these events have been processed in such a way that as soon as one event is finished, it's only a month or month and a half until the next event, and the shops use it all as marketing. So I mean, there's been Christmas stuff on sale for the last month in a lot
Oh
of the
yeah,
stores.
yeah.
It's disgusting, isn't it? I mean, it just it takes away from what Christmas is really about, and everyone goes and gets all caught up with the hype. And I think Christmas is one of the really, in some ways, one of the biggest travesties, because particularly nowadays, kids are very expectant. I mean, kids are always expectant. I was expectant at Christmas when I was a kid, but as you get older, you sort of realise actually no, it's more about it's the one time of the year where you can guarantee more of the family will be together in most cases than they are throughout the year.
Yeah, that's why I like it.
Yeah, and
And I miss that people don't give Christmas cards anymore, because they all say I'm giving to charity. Well, to me, the whole of getting in the Christmas spirit. When I was a kid and growing up, we used to get loads of Christmas cards, and you would hang them on your wall. And people don't get them anymore. You
Well,
only
they
get a
used to
few.
sell. They used to sell things to hang your Christmas cards on. I mean, I know
Yes.
another marketing gimmick, but people, that was a very common thing to give out Christmas cards, and nobody does anymore. I suppose they're all trying to save the planet.
Yeah, and I just think that's one of the nice traditions. But I do get a card for the last 2 years. I've had one from someone called Sharon and Mike. I haven't got a clue who they are. Oh, it cracks
Oh,
me
it's
up
nice
every
that
year.
it's nice that they send you a card, though.
Isn't it? Just, yeah, hope you're well. We must catch up. Yeah, haven't got a clue who you are.
My word. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's quite amazing. So you just get some random card through the post. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
funny. Have you just
I
forgotten
tell
who
you
they are?
about,
Did anyone ever know who they were?
I haven't got a clue. Nobody knows who they are. Nobody.
What did you say their names were?
Sharon and Mike.
Sharon and Mike. If you're listening to this at all, can you write a letter to Shelley and just explain who you are, please?
Yeah. But funnily enough, I don't know if I mentioned this the other week, but a couple of years ago, I interviewed a guy, Mark Pajerski, and he sent me over all of these crystals and these tonics and stuff as a way of thanking me. And he didn't need to, but I was like, oh, gifts gratefully received in the post. Lovely. And I sent him a card back with a photo of my dog on it. And I just said, oh, thank you so much for the all the gifts and what have you. He messaged me literally about 2 weeks ago with a picture of the card. And he said, did you send this to me? I said, yeah, over 2 years ago. He said, it came in the post yesterday.
Oh, my word.
I was like, where did that go for 2 years?
It just got dropped down behind something, didn't it?
Yeah.
Or something. And someone was having a tidy out. Shows how often they tidy out the offices, isn't it?
Yeah,
Someone was having a
probably.
tidy out and going, oh, there's a card there. Oh, well, it's still got a valid stamp. We can just, yeah.
Oh, crikey. Still. Yes. So, without further ado, Mr. Scott, shall we move on to your first song as we're reaching the bottom of the hour?
We
'Cause
can
we're nearly at that
move on to
time.
a song. Yeah, we may as well. Indeed. Okay, well, you're listening live, folks, to radiosoapbox.com and on pre-record on Radio Free Air, the sound of freedom, apparently. I haven't actually had a chance. I feel awful, actually. I haven't
No,
had
you
a
should.
chance to listen to any of the content on Radio Free Air yet. So
It's still all coming
that's a very
together.
guilty. That's a very guilty admission, isn't it? Considering they're actually airing our show. But I'm sorry, folks. I will get round to it.
It's Clear Air FM, the sound of freedom, and it's all to do with the Light newspaper. So it's the same guy that's organised this radio station. It's not all fully up and running yet every day, but he's getting there. So yeah.
Oh well, he's having fun with the podcasting.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this one is actually out of the Pure Original Archive, folks. So if you like any of the tunes that you hear from the Pure Original Archive, feel free to give me a message. Send me a message at Mallifficus@outlook.com, and I will point you in the right direction. But this one's called Surface of Me. Quite a good tune, actually.
Oh, look forward to it.
They act as if they can see all the frustration I hold close to me, too tight to let go. I act as if I'd rather be time to breathe, you might just realize not what I see anymore. Too deep to unsolve, I'll never be alone again. Don't want you to feel the same on the inside as I do.
The Surface of
Very
Me.
good.
Yeah, Surface of Me. I think that was a band called Chumley's Toy. I think they actually brought out an album you might be able to find if you have a little hunt around. But that was the one I promoted for them about 20 odd years ago. So, yeah, it's nice to revisit some of these, I must admit.
It's nice to hear new stuff
Yeah.
because obviously it's all new to me. So, no, good choice, Mr. Scott.
Yeah.
And I've got to share this with you before I go on to topic because I was just looking at my phone for a couple of screenshots that I grabbed. And I saved this because the other night I was on my Facebook page scrolling down and
Facebook.
a week ago now, Facebook, yes. A week ago now on my profile, I share the Shelley Tasker Show's posts, okay?
Oh, I'll let you off.
Yeah, there you are. And it says tonight's show with myself and the awesome Mr. Mallifficus Scott is about to air, what have you. Anyway, because of this Meta AI thing now, it always puts questions underneath. So it says in like a little bar, who is Mr. Mallifficus Scott? So I clicked it. Right. More about Mr. Mallifficus Scott's background.
Oh, I love it. Go on.
Mr. Mallifficus Scott's background is quite fascinating. Born Malcolm Gregory Scott, he grew up in Oxford, Mississippi, where he was exposed to the theatre community and gay culture from a young age. I must send that to you.
That's me. That's me. Yeah.
I know.
They've definitely got me there. This is AI.
They got you right, didn't they? This is AI. Just make me laugh.
Oh dear. Oh, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. I should try a search myself. Which search engine did you use? I take it you use Google.
No, it didn't. It wasn't on the Google. It's just on the Facebook page. Whenever, I know you don't do social media, but whenever you put posts up, quite often underneath a question will come up and it just said, want to know who Mr. Mallifficus Scott is. So I clicked on it to see what it would say. And that's what it said.
Yeah, well, there you go. That proves what we said at the beginning of the show. We don't get on outside the show. Shelley doesn't know anything about me at all.
I know nothing. No. That was all news to me. I thought you'd find it funny.
Well, I'm a bit shocked that all my personal details are out there on the net, I have to say.
Yeah. I'm into gay theatre from a young age.
Gay theatre. Well, well, it's a feather in my cap, darling. It's a feather in my cap.
There you are.
Well, thank you for sharing that.
That's all right. Right, onwards. Right, my topic, my main topic this week has got to be about the whole digital ID thing again, basically, because it popped up yesterday that the NatWest banking app now traces your carbon footprint. Now, because we know I'm a phone user, I thought, I'm going to go and have a look. So basically, I went on the app and it says explore more. So let me see, where's that picture gone? Bear with me. I found it quite interesting.
You have a personal logged carbon footprint. Is this what I'm reading correct? Am I reading this correctly?
I'm going to leave it on for a few months just to see what it keeps generating about me. But I'm going to make some changes. I'll get onto that in a moment. You can turn this part of the app off, by the way.
Yeah, you can turn it off for yourself.
Yeah, but it's automatically there. Right,
yeah.
So it says...
So just because it's rather like your favourites on YouTube, if you don't have your previously watched, you can just turn it on and everything you've previously watched will come up. Just because you've got it switched off, it doesn't mean it's not counting.
True. Okay, right. Do you want to know what my estimated footprint is for the 1st to the 31st of October?
Go on.
137 kilograms CO2. And it says in the information box, that's like flying from London to Toronto. This is on my banking app. So that's my carbon footprint. And it says we calculate your carbon footprint by analysing your monthly transactions and matching them to their industry, i.e. grocery, energy, transport. Each transaction amount is multiplied by an emissions factor per industry category to calculate the carbon footprint that you use. So it's generated on average for every pound you spend with different businesses. So yeah, in a month, mine is I've flown to London to Toronto. So I tell you what, the speed that this digital ID is going is just, when you think we were literally 3-4 weeks ago told it's just going to be used to stop the illegal immigrants and to help people get a home, get a job, stuff like that. It is just escalated like we all said it would.
Yeah, because the
And
system's already in place.
system's already in place, and it's actually they have got it's being trialed on veterans at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been going on. They don't have to participate, but they believe that this will help veterans get accommodation if needed. This is another something that's
Another carrot
on
to
in
dangle.
world.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So they'll trial it on the veterans, because we like to moan that we've got lots of veterans on the street. But actually, in Wigan and Wales, they're doing pilot schemes for children through the NHS apps and stuff.
Oh, you
So
don't
they're
say. Do you know what?
No.
It's a good job I'm sat down, Shelley, honestly.
Are you being sarcastic?
I am slightly, but I'm not towards you, just towards the system itself.
Yeah, but I'm just how quick it's come, you know? So yeah, what does it
Well, it's
say?
great. We can use it for everything, Shelley. We can just use it for everything. Wouldn't that be great?
I tell you what, it's getting a little bit because in Vietnam, this happened the last couple of days. 86 million bank accounts have been closed because people would not comply with the whole digital scenario. This
Right.
is actually happening in Vietnam now. So
Yeah.
it's somebody has said that Vietnam has just rolled out the nightmare of Agenda 2030 in real life. The government mandated a digital ID with biometric scanning for all bank accounts. And when millions refused, they didn't ask nicely. They shut down 86 million bank accounts overnight. They even temporarily seized assets inside them. Millions of citizens were financially erased in an instant. Their crime was for choosing privacy over surrendering their biological data to state-run surveillance system. So they were locked out of the economy, unable to access their own money or participate in society.
Which is why they want rid
So-
of cash.
Yes.
Yes.
So that's already happening in Vietnam now. But I was looking into this yesterday because it's like we're all, what can we do? What can we do? And we do all need to make changes. And I know I need to. Somebody said, "What are you doing using online banking anyway?" And I was like, "Well, because I've just become lazy like everybody else." So I am trying now. I'm going to try to make it. Apparently, it takes 8 weeks for a habit to form. And I do need to get into that habit of when I go shopping each week, I draw out the cash and then they can't see where it's going. So they can't, say, "Oh, you've spent X
yeah,
amount,
as long as
so
you don't-
that will fuel."
As long as you don't use any kind of loyalty card. None.
Well, this is it. But I think the loyalty cards, I think that they can't share that data.
I think
pretty
you'll
sure.
probably find. I think you'll probably find if someone
I
was
wrong?
I don't know at the moment, and I don't know, but you can see that if it's not on the roadmap, it will be. So therefore, if someone say is investigated for tax fraud, like not paying all their tax or whatever, and you go into a shop and you pay for your shopping with cash, but you use your loyalty card.
They
Then-
still know where it's going.
They still know where it's going. I bet it will add on to your digital carbon footprint, etc. The banking app you're talking about is following it. Eventually, I'm not saying it is now, but I'm saying eventually
no.
it will all that information, and you might get a reduction off of your carbon footprint for using your loyalty card.
Well, they're trying now. I keep seeing ads pop up. Get your Tesco app. I haven't got the app for Tesco's. But I am going to try and be good. So I'm going to get into this new habit, which they reckon takes about 8 weeks for a new habit to form. Because I know I'm lazy. Okay. So then I was really thinking about it last night, thinking, I wonder what else we can pay for cash. And I mean, when I go and get my hair done on my gym membership, I pay cash. But other places, yeah, I easily use card. But they've kind of got you because I was Googling it last night for like phone contracts and things like that.
Yeah.
Companies don't do it. You've got to pay by direct debit. The only thing you can actively use is the PayPoint system to pay for your gas and electric and stuff like that. So I am going to look into that, but then will that pay point be used as like a bank account to say where that money's going anyway? Can you ever actually be free from it to
Well,
hide where your cash is going?
well, yeah, it's not a case about it, because I mean, anyone that tries to get away without paying like their whatever tax they owe to the so-called government, I understand the motives, but it's just such a fool's errand, because they'll come down on you so hard for even a minor offence. And I was aware of one guy who they basically said, we put your living costs at this, we put your business costs at this, and they basically stitched him up for a very large tax bill, even though he genuinely hadn't earned that much money. But because he'd hidden a little bit of it, they decided they would just, as far as I'm aware, pretty much just make up what they think he needed to support his cost of living.
Yeah. But I'm just wondering how much, I mean, can you imagine if you, and I'm not saying about necessarily like avoiding your tax bill, I'm just saying so they don't know what you spend any of your money on.
Yeah, cash
If
is
it was all
always
cash.
king.
But
Cash is
it
always
is,
king.
but you can't pay your mortgage and things like that. I mean, you can't. The post offices now, they couldn't take a mortgage payment. And I mean, this has been slowly building up for years, hasn't it? But
Yeah, drip
it's just
fed.
made me think,
Yeah.
I'm going to go through a list of like all of my bills, and I'm going to try and see which ones I could. I don't mind if I've got to go into a post office and pay for something that way. But then if this pay point kind of thing that people use, it's probably linked. Well, it's going to be linked to your name, isn't it? So
Yeah,
it's
you'll have an
say
account,
where your
quote
money's gone from.
unquote. Yeah, you'll have
so
an account.
You're screwed either way, really. But it's your luxuries and things that you want to be drawing the cash out, so they can't say, "Oh, you've spent X amount on McDonald's, or you've spent this at the cinema, Shelley. You've done this, blah blah blah." I mean,
Yeah.
crikey, I've been to London and Toronto in 4 weeks. That's my carbon footprint. And that's only really for things like fuel and shopping and things.
Yeah, and when they bring in this whole carbon tax thing, which really, realistically, they're already bringing in, because I will get into a bit of the climate change nonsense in a minute, but when they bring all this stuff in, you're going to be basically, you'll have a certain allowance allotted to you, and if you go over it, you'll be taxed heavily on it. And they're stitching everyone up with a lie, because there's no problem with carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. There's a brilliant clip. I should have downloaded it for the show, actually. There's a brilliant clip of a guy who was in front of some senators in America. He was a farmer himself. He was the local representative. I don't know what you call it over in the States. And he was questioning why he should have to replace $100,000 or $150,000 piece of equipment for an electric one, because that's what the state was asking. That's what they were asking of the state. And there was a panel of 4 guys from the government, or guys and girls, panel of 4 or 5 of them, and he asked them, what percentage of the Earth's atmosphere is carbon dioxide? Can any of you tell me? And this isn't a test for you, Shelley, but could you tell me?
I haven't got a clue.
Okay, so one of the average of the guesses between the senators was somewhere between 3 and 5%. Yeah, and the farmer and also local congressman, well, I don't know how it all works over there. The local representative said, "Look, okay, so carbon dioxide makes up 0.04% of the Earth's atmosphere, or is it 0.004? It's literally nothing." And he said, you're talking about a rise of maybe up to 0.005%. But bear in mind that plant life on the planet starts dying off at 0.003%. So we are talking, and even if you times it by 10, it's still nothing. It's still not even a percent. So this is what we're all getting taxed upon. Go and look it up for yourselves, folks. What percentage of the Earth's atmosphere is carbon dioxide? And like I say, if you can find that American senator giving that little talk and giving these people a dressing down, it must have been so embarrassing for those guys who were up there. They've been fed all this nonsense and they can't even answer the most simple question on what the actual content of the Earth's atmosphere is supposed to be as far as carbon dioxide is concerned. It's just ridiculous. The whole thing is like there's been many big scams pulled on the public over the last couple of centuries. Many big scams. But this one takes the biscuit because this is going worldwide. We're even talking about countries being compensated, lesser countries being compensated for the fact that the water level might rise a little bit. I always say, and we're talking, because I mentioned this on the show a few weeks back, that, they're talking about they could ask for reparations from the largest offenders when it comes to climate change, those countries, whatever, Britain, America, France, China, whatever. They can ask for compensation and they can even backdate it historically. That's what they were planning on doing. That was the plan that was put forward. Whether it will hold any water or not, I don't know. Probably, judging by the way that things are going, it will. So it's so frustrating that you have all these people, these Extinction Rebellion idiots and all that sort of stuff, super gluing their faces to pavement, paid idiots doing all this stuff. And, look, I've got, as I said at the beginning of the show, climate disasters in the first half of 2025, the costliest ever on record, research shows. So basically, they're saying that what they're equating this to is that the climate disasters have got worse. No, the cost of insurance has gone up. That's why it's the most costly on record in the first half of 2025, is because everyone now is paying through the nose for everything. That's why the cost's gone up. It's got nothing to do with worse climate disasters,
Yep.
So
it's all down to inflation, isn't it? Really?
Oh, of course, inflation. Like we said, there was an article actually I noticed earlier about how mortgage owners might appreciate the fact that of inflation. That was an article from The Guardian, I think. But this is all dressing up something that's a nothing anyway. They create money out of nothing and charge the government's interest upon it. And they choose when to put the interest rates up and down. Go and look at the Wall Street crash in the 1920s and 30s. Do you know what I mean? It's just... and I've got a friend at the moment who's really into... I've mentioned him a few times. He's really into crypto. And he's also into buying silver. And he's retired, but he works here and there to pay for a bit more silver. And I said, what are you going to do with it, mate? I said, you're not going to be able to go into a shop in 5 years' time and pay for a loaf of bread with a lump of silver. It's, he said, yeah, but it'll always be worth something. Yeah, it will, but how are you going to get back that money? It'll have to be invested into their system, i.e. they'll give you so many carbon credits, or they'll give you so many pounds sterling, if we still have pounds sterling. It'll still be invested back into their system when you get payment for whatever it is you're squirreling away.
I do. Yeah, it's mental.
This whole thing as well with crypto and all that kind of thing. This is all just a precursor for the central bank digital currencies, the digital ones that they're going to be bringing in all over the place anyway. Which is, again, there is no physical money in the banks per se. Not that would cover the costs of everything that's going in and out. It's all digital. It's not even on paper anymore. So this, like you say, well brought up with the whole digital ID thing. You can see where it's all going. But it is amazing. You're right. It's amazing that it is just... Now they've got their foot in the door, the thin end of the wedge being for veterans and for migrants. the thing that pulls on the most, touches the most buttons for people at the moment. I mean, that's a forked attack there, because we're moaning about the migrants, and we're also moaning that we've got, we should be looking after our veterans who are on the streets and everything. So that's a double-pronged attack right there, mental attack from the government, I would say. That's the thin end of the wedge, and now they're forcing that wedge in at a rate of knots, and it's getting wider and wider. Have I lost you? I have.
Got a big sign underneath, and the sign says, "My pronouns are liar, traitor, wanker."
You're going to have to, Shelley. I lost you for about 10 seconds there. You're going to have to repeat that. Sorry, I just got the last. I got the punchline, so you're going to have to. You've spoiled it now, but
sorry.
Go on. Let's know what was it. Sorry.
It's like a blow-up doll hanging on a lamppost outside of 10 Downing Street, and it's got Keir Starmer's face on it, and he's wearing black shorts and a red T-shirt and holding a Brit card. And he's also holding a sign that says, "My pronouns are liar, traitor, wanker."
Oh dear, that's very harsh
people
language.
People are all going by taking photos of it. But somebody's put, "Whoever did this, I owe you a pint."
Yeah. But I mean, the thing is,
things going on.
It's great, and it's great that people are making the statements. But it's very disheartening. It's very disheartening knowing what you know, that people are still blaming governments for things, because you'd be an idiot to think that anyone in your government is in control of the country. In fact, I've got a very quick clip here to play for you. Boris Johnson has been hauled over the coals in this last week for his actions during COVID. So I've got a little clip for you here. I'm just going to see what you think about this one.
Was very much hoping that we wouldn't have to close schools. I thought it was a nightmare idea, but I think it would. I think as far as I can remember, you had other countries were starting to close schools.
Yes,
and I'm surprised that the Perm Sec at the DFE didn't feel that it was necessary to look at what contingency arrangements we had. I've got to say that, given the huge damage that the closures have done, and given the loss of life chances that they've caused, you've got to ask yourself now whether we could have found other ways of reducing the budget of risk from COVID. Could they, if they were 10 to 20% of the R, was there some way of doing it without school closures? Now, all the advice I was getting was absolutely not. You've got to do this, and that they, along with everything else, school closures were unavoidable. And I thought the whole business of scrapping exams was damaging, and it must have been bitterly disappointing to students who'd prepared and worked very, very hard. I didn't want to do it, and it was the logical concomitant of closing schools. So on March the 18th, it was part of the package, and we had no way around it. Certainly, that's my memory of the way it went.
So there you go.
Earlier, yes. It's just a babbling buffoon he is, isn't he?
Well, he used a very complicated word there, concomitant. He was saying that the stopping the exams was concomitant of closing the schools down. So the meaning of it is accompanying, especially in a subordinate or incidental way. So basically, he just said it was part and parcel of it. That's basically what he was saying. And a couple of the things that I thought I'd bring out from that is, he's got the audacity to sit there and say, as far as I can remember, other countries were also closing schools. Right? There's one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As far as I can remember. Sorry? Oh, is this, you know, why did you need that at the beginning of the sentence? This is just, again, diversionary tactics, blah, 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 blah. But the most poignant thing out of that entire little minute clip there is the very fact that he said, all the advice, I didn't want to close schools, but all the advice I was getting said, absolutely not. We have to close the schools. What does that tell you? That tells you...
Yeah, he's not in control.
He's not in control. And going back to the Disraeli statement, our Prime Minister during Victoria's time said, governments do not govern. They merely control the machinery of government, themselves being controlled by the hidden hand. He was our Prime Minister. Do you think he would be wrong about that? I don't.
No.
So,
No, very good. Very interesting. And I mean, the likes of you and me, we can see that. And we're learning all the time. You just don't stop, do you? Not if you're into this sort of thing anyway.
No, well, yeah, there's so many things to that you could run around like a headless chicken on. And I think the main thing to focus on, again, as I say, is always sort of trying to put this across to the people that are nearby you, like in your local community, and just sort of trying to plant these seeds with people.
Yeah, and I do when I get chatting to people. Yeah, if you're in the right place, dog walking. I know you like walking your dog and speaking to people.
Yeah, I think it's
nice, good opportunity.
Yeah, but just planting these seeds amongst your local community, in however surreptitious, not even surreptitious, but in however mild a way. I don't think that because blah 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 blah. You don't have to extrapolate on anything. You just leave people to think for themselves, because you will, Shelley, you know this, you will never get anyone to think for themselves. They have to do it. So
absolutely. Yeah.
Anyway, we're coming up to the top of the hour.
Crikey. You best play another tune.
Well, I will do. So, folks, you're listening live on radiosoapbox.com to the Shelley Tasker Show with the wonderful host, apparently, Mr. Scott, which is always nice to hear. I'm going to play this one. I'm not quite sure what this one is. I kind of uploaded. So this is a lucky dip, folks,
okay,
from the Pure Original Archive. It might have been played on the show before. Not sure. Here we go. Oh, I think it has.
Everything that I believed in, every place that I've belonged, in the end I am left standing here on my own. Every change that I've attempted, every single move I've made, justifies that I'm still standing here on my own. Reaching out, but I'm still standing, left here on my own. When did I begin? Longing for the end, going through motions, trying to pretend. Everything began without you, ends without you. I'm here on my own. When did I begin? Longing for the end, going through motions, trying to pretend. Everything began without you, ends without you. I'm here on my own. Everything began without you, ends without you. I'm here on my own.
On my own, straight out of the pureoriginal.com archive. I will have to start digging out some of these artists' names again, won't I?
You will. I like that. That was good.
I think we have played that one fairly recently, actually. I just didn't recognise because the name of it is all written as one word. So I thought, oh, that's a random one. It turned out not to be as random as I thought, but there we go.
Very good. Very good. Right. Onwards. Do you
Onwards
have a
and upwards.
topic, Mr. Scott?
Well, as I said at the beginning of the show, I discovered what a tantalus was this week.
Tantalus. I love all these new words.
Tantalus.
Right, go on.
So a tantalus, it was my granddad's tantalus, the one that wrote the book. And basically a tantalus is, in this case, is a fairly large lockable box with a lid and layers inside the top of the lid for storing things like cigar cutters, matches, cigarettes, cigars. And on either side of the lid, so the lid extends past the box and it has little bits which come down and hold the tops on the two decanters, one either side of the box, you see. I'll send you a photograph in a bit. It's quite good. And at the bottom of the box is at the front, is a little section that you push one side of, and it's got 5 little steel rings in there for holding glasses. It locks all by itself, so if you shut the keys inside it, you're buggered. But it was my granddad's, and on the top of it, it's got J. Cray Scott, 91st Highlanders. So that box would have gone round with him to the various postings that he had. But weird word, eh? Tantalus. Do you want to know where it comes from?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so tantalus, and you'll love this, right? The reasoning behind it. So a tantalus really is its purpose is to lock alcohol away. That's and all the naughties like cigars and cigarettes and all that kind of thing. You wouldn't want. You wouldn't want your children, or in Grandad's case, your subordinates or servants, whatever, getting their hands on your best whiskey. So it would be put in the decanter and locked into the tantalus, you see. So anyway, tantalus.
I do like a new word. Yes, go on, sorry.
He was a Greek mythological figure, most famous for his punishment in Tartarus, for either revealing many secrets of the gods or stealing ambrosia for them, or for trying to trick them into eating his son, depending on which version of the story you read. He was made to stand in a pool of water beneath a fruit tree with low branches, with the fruit ever eluding his grasp, and the water always receding before he could take a drink. This punishment, although best known today, was a more unusual detail surviving in early Greek sources. Now, the ancient Greeks used to refer to this as Tantalian punishment. Okay, in reference to people with nice things who are unable to experience them. His name and punishment are also the source of the English word tantalize, meaning to torment
Oh,
with the sight of something desired but out of reach, tease by arousing expectations that are repeatedly disappointed. So there you go. So they called it a tantalus because obviously it was rather tantalizing for all those that would like to get their hands on the whiskies and the smokes.
I love
I-
it. We should make
yeah.
it a regular thing. Word of the week.
Yeah, well, there you go. So I inherited my granddad's tantalus on Friday,
Oh,
which
lovely.
was very nice. I'd actually gone up to see if I could get hold of his medals, but I think they've gone to my weirdo cousin who lives in Australia. I'll tell you after the show.
Okay.
I don't use the word weirdo in a light way either, unfortunately. But there we go. What's most disappointing is that I know for a fact he will never have any children, and therefore when he goes, those medals that my granddad earned will disappear into the ether.
Yeah, sad.
And amongst those medals, apart from an OBE and other things like that, DSO, Distinguished Service Order, that is. Amongst it also was the French War Cross in gold, which is not very rarely awarded to any foreign person that isn't French, basically. But because Grandad served on the French staff as well over in World War One, and despite being wounded, stayed on duty and helped direct things, and because he was a captain in the British Army at that time. He ended up being awarded the French War Cross in gold, which is the highest order that you can get.
Wow.
And so all that will be lost to the ether when my cousin shakes off this mortal coil. Such a big shame. Such a big shame. But I've also inherited a few other bits and bobs. In actual fact, there will be a new version of Hidden Government coming out at some point, probably next year, some point towards the end of next year, I would imagine. But I've got an awful lot of paperwork to go through, lots of newfound articles that Grandad wrote. I've also stumbled across this, Shelley. Hang on, let me just go and grab it. 2 seconds. Sorry, I'm back. So
How unprofessional.
how very unprofessional. I should have had it in front of me. So this is the British Record of Rod Caught Fish Committee. So it says at the top, species, rainbow trout, weight, 8 pounds, 8 ounces, place, Blagdon, date, September 9th, 1924. Addressed to my granddad, Lieutenant Colonel J. Cray Scott. This is to certify that the above named holds the record for the largest rod caught specimen of the above species ever caught in Great Britain at the date of capture. So there you go. He was a record holder as well. I didn't know that about him.
Yeah.
So
I seem to know quite a few people lately. Well, I bump into people that are like heavily into their fishing and stuff. It's quite a sport, actually, isn't it? I didn't realise that there's a way that they fish, and it's like then they put the fish back, and I was like, well, haven't you like really hurt the fish? And they're like, no, you buy these special hooks that have got something on them. I was quite intrigued. I was like, oh.
Yeah. I don't know much about fishing, I have to say. I know that
No, I don't.
one of the things that I have also inherited quite a while back was a book that my granddad started to write on fishing, but it contains in it lots of anecdotes about him fishing as a child, him taking a poacher's rod to France with him when he was stationed out, in the Great War, and there's a little entry in the book that just says, "Jerry all quiet, gone fishing." And then a bit later on, because apparently one of his superiors had been looking for him, and one of his younger junior officers had said, "I think he's gone fishing, sir." And then there's a little entry afterwards saying, "Jerry opened up, beat a hasty retreat." So obviously he had to pack up all his fishing gear and get back to his station.
I just love the way they spoke back in those times, or wrote, you know?
Yeah,
Their
absolutely.
language was just so different.
Yeah.
Ah, good.
Yeah, so that's been
Nice to
that's
hear
that's
it.
been the I didn't mention it at the beginning of the show because I thought I'd moan about the fact that I'd been rained on for most of the week.
That's all
It was
right.
forefront in my mind at the time, having just got out of the
Of course. That's
shower
how
and
we
just
start.
warmed up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how we start the show every week. Weather. Oh dear. Well, I came across it's funny actually because we always in the week building up, I save loads of things and then we never get around to doing them all, but there's always stuff to talk about. Anyway, I came across this. So NHS in a new anti-Semitism crackdown after recent incidents from doctors. The
Okay.
1.5 million people employed by the NHS will be required to take anti-Semitism training. A crackdown on anti Semitism will see NHS employees banned from wearing pro Palestine badges at work. New guidance is set to be issued on NHS uniforms, which will prohibit employees from wearing any political symbols at work. This includes badges promoting political causes, shirts, and scarves, but it does not include religious symbols such as the Star of David or a cross. So you're allowed to wear those too. The Department of Health and Social Care confirmed that the urgent review into anti Semitism comes after recent incidents of anti Semitism from doctors, which drew stark attention to problems of culture and the regulation in the health system. A junior doctor in the NHS recently avoided punishment after she referred to Hamas as martyrs, made a slit your throat gesture to Jewish protesters, and claimed the Holocaust was fabricated. The new crackdown will also see every NHS staff member undergo compulsory training on anti-Semitism and anti-racism. So there, what do you
Wow.
think of that?
Yeah. Do you know what? My immediate thought on that is that I don't think, I honestly don't think that they'd be having to train up all these NHS staff if there weren't so many, let's just say, other cultures who are far more anti-Semitic than British people have ever been, working within the NHS.
Yeah. It's the fact as well that they can wear, the Star of David or a cross. And I like the way how they put the Star of David in first and then a cross. I mean, we are supposedly a Christian country, but no other religions, but the Star of David and a cross.
Well, it doesn't sound very inclusive to me.
No, what about the other religions? Come on.
Yeah,
We're entering a multiculturalism society, country, world.
But it just shows
Surely
you
all-
that they're saying one thing out of one side of their mouths and then doing something else out of the other, and there's always these double standards that are supposed to confuse us all and make us scratch our heads. And why are they doing this and why are they doing that? And a friend of mine actually said, because you had that dreadful attack in the synagogue up country a few weeks back. And sadly, even some poor innocent guy got shot by the police by accident. So there's no two ways about it. It was a tragic event and all that kind of thing. But a friend of mine afterwards said, "God, they're going to really, really clamp down on anti-Semitism now after all that." And as it's funny he said that a couple of weeks ago because we're already seeing that now in the news. So or
Yep.
in this article. So yeah. Yeah, interesting stuff, isn't it? I guess
It is.
just the fact that you're only they're only allowing those two types of religious symbols. Is that right? Definitely.
Well, this is what it says in the news. That was posted in. Let me just find in the Express.
Oh, okay.
I mean, we can take it all with a pinch of salt. It just says does not include religious symbols such as a Star of David or a cross, but it doesn't state that it's only those. But I just thought it was interesting that it says those two. So are they saying that like Christianity and Judaism are actually the main religions of this country?
Yeah, but then you've got the other Abrahamic, as they call them, religions as well. Are they segregated from this? I expect if they are, there'll be some pushback. I can't see that there wouldn't be.
No. But it's, all interesting stuff. Anyway, you're going to love this one. I love this. I can't believe it. Right. A migrant deported to France under one in, one out scheme comes back on a small boat. Oh my! You couldn't make it up, could you?
It's a
couldn't
good
make
job
it up.
it's a good job we have to sit down for this show, isn't it? Honestly, you know,
Yeah,
it's
he
just,
was dropped to France. He was deported to France, and he's travelled back to the UK again on a small boat. They're saying it's a mockery of the system. The migrant claims he was threatened at gunpoint and abused by people smugglers, fled a shelter in Paris because he was afraid for his life in the French capital. He then crossed the channel again in a small boat. So he
What?
came over on the 18th of September, was deported back, and then he's come back over again.
Yeah, but I'm just thinking, if he's had this trouble in Britain, now he's had this trouble in France. Why didn't he flee in the other direction? I don't get it. I don't get the understand the mental. And it's very typical sort of the media at the moment, sort of antagonizing people on this whole immigration issue. And obviously, as we know, this whole and you had all the flag march and everything a few weeks back with Tommy Robinson and the whole raise the flag thing. It's so manipulated and so contrived, and it's all just to push in backing for this ID.
Yeah.
It's just sculpting public opinion. That's what it is. I think it was Noam Chomsky wrote a book years back, literally about sculpting public manufacturing consent. I think the book was called. I'm not a big fan of Noam Chomsky. I know a lot of his work, and I'm not a big fan at all. And he completely lost me when he, said that absolutely the Taliban would have had an interest in flying planes into the World Trade Center. So that.
Yep.
But yeah, manufacturing consent. That's what it's all about, really.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, my last little headline. This came from the Manchester Evening News. Muslims demand locals don't walk dogs in public because it's a violation of Sharia and disrespects them. In Manchester, pamphlets have been distributed by a group called Public Purity, demanding that Brits do now walk their dogs in public as they are considered impure in Islamic faith. So I followed the link for this one, and there is such a group. But I'd never heard of such a thing. Apparently, the dog's saliva, if they get dog saliva on themselves, they'd have to wash themselves 7 times or do something 7 times.
Why did they come to a dog-loving country then? I don't get it.
But the more I think of it now, I don't know any Muslims that have dogs and stuff. I didn't realise that they were classed as such as an impure and contagious thing, and it's all to do with their saliva. Yeah.
Oh well, not that. The mind boggles. My brain is literally boggling at the moment because I just think, why would you come here if you know that it's a nation of dog lovers? We're known as a nation of dog lovers, for goodness sake. Surely they'd be thinking, well, it's a nice life over there. Oh, but there is the dog danger. It's a bit unclean over there. Do you think we ought to go? I don't get it. And this again. If this is something that has this come from the mainstream, I take it. So it's just another one of those things to create an us and them attitude, so that we don't concentrate on what the real problem is, which of course is the banking system and all that goes with it. The very people that are trying to push in this digital ID by causing division amongst people, so nobody knows whether they're coming or going.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. It is interesting going through what's going on and what's happening and what you're drawn to and stuff. But there's been a couple of funny ones this week. There was at a model show in London, I think it was. I've seen the video of it. Somebody walked in with a clear garbage bag on and a hat, and they started walking down the catwalk. And everybody's looking, thinking it's all absolutely normal. And then you see security cards come in and
I love it.
Oh, crikey. Some people, I love it. I just love to be that mad and do something like that.
You'd have to be pretty crazy to dress up in a clear plastic bag and a hat. and then
Yeah,
walk down a
yeah.
catwalk.
But
Yeah.
nobody noticed. They were all just like, oh, well, because let's face it, the fashion, some of the fashions these days, it's like, oh, people, if somebody had said like, oh, this is a big designer label, they'd be like, oh, wow, wow. But
Yeah, I know. Just shows how self-centered and naive and narcissistic people really are, doesn't it?
yeah.
Yeah.
I know there was
yeah.
another one I came across of all these bodybuilders, all these really buffed up men doing Mr. World. Or what? There was about 10 of them on stage, and they're all standing there waiting to be judged, and they're all striking poses. And then this little man runs in his boxer shorts and stands in the middle and starts doing poses, and they start dragging him off. But it's just so funny.
Actually, if you're interested, there is talking of the bodybuilding thing. There's I think he's a Ukrainian guy, and used to be a farmer. And there's a load of silly clips of him going into like these gyms where you've got these huge guys that are steroided up to the max, just muscles upon muscles upon muscles, and they're there. And he comes in dressed in like a shell suit, and there's nothing to him at all, and pretends to be a cleaner, and comes in, and I think his just the mop handle alone, I can't remember how many kilos that weighs, but there's all these silly clips of him coming in and saying, "Oh, can I just clean here a sec?" And they're all looking disgruntled, and they step aside so he can clean, and he picks up their weights with one hand,
Right.
and walks it a few feet over, so that he can mop the area that he's in, and these people are just stood around going, "What?" Like, because they're huge, these guys, and obviously most of that bulk is sugar for the next time they work out and all that kind of thing. But they are huge. These guys. These are guys that if you put a sticker on their back, couldn't take it off. Do you know what I mean? They're that big.
Yeah.
And and then he says, "Oh, it's all right. I'll go and get it." And he hands one of them his mop, and the mop handle itself is I think it's made of like cast iron or something. It's seriously heavy. Do you know what I mean? You got these big guys going, "Oh my," because they don't expect it to be so heavy and stuff. Look him up if you can. Just put in Ukrainian farmer weightlifting. Just put that.
I will. I do like watching the funny things. You need to have that giggle, and I do like to laugh. Like I said, that film we watched the other night. I mean, awful story, nice story as well. But the Tourette's and the stuff that was said, everybody was in stitches. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is one of those things that if you could buy laughter in the bottle, crikey, you don't have to feel better with a good giggle.
Not being funny if you could sell laughter in a bottle. You'd be a rich person, wouldn't you? Eh?
You would.
Especially in this day and age. I think people need to find a lot more time to laugh at stuff. Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. Too many touchy people around these days. You can't joke about anything.
Moody, touchy. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, Mr. Scott, it's getting to that time where I've got to like more or less go.
Yeah, that's fine, my darling. It's been lovely to talk to you. And yeah, Shelley's on hiatus for the next half hour on her way to work. On her way to work, bless her. So no, I wish you well, and I hope it all goes very quickly. We've got I'm going to play the next installment of Other Losses. Did you catch any of that last time?
No, I haven't, and I feel ashamed because there's so many things, and I'm like, I must listen to that. But things have quietened down a bit, so I won't listen to tonight because obviously it will conclude, and I will do catch
No,
up.
it won't conclude, actually. I only got about 20 minutes into it because I had to put in a bit of a disclaimer last week just in case anyone got upset about the content. Disclaimer. Yeah. This next section of the Shelley Tasker Show will contain knowledge you didn't know about more German soldiers dying after the war than during it, World War II. So, and it's freely available on YouTube if you just want to watch the whole thing. So,
Okay. Well, I might just. Oh, yeah. I was just going to say I want to listen to your voice, but actually, you're not. You're going to be playing a video, so.
I am. I'm going to be playing a tune first, but I do wish you well, and I hope it goes very quickly.
Thank you very much, sir. Oh, it always does. I get there for like 9, and I literally sit there for an hour, and then I go to bed and I go to sleep, and just hope that nobody wakes me up. I look at it that I go to a little hotel for the night and read my book. So there we are. I'm off for 4 days and 4 nights, so I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, lovely.
On the home run, yeah.
On the home run.
My lovely.
Yeah.
On
All right,
the home
take
run.
care.
Right. Thank you for listening, everybody. And we'll be back next week. And I'll leave you with the awesome Mr. Scott. Speak to you soon, buddy.
Take care, Mrs. Be good.
I will.
Serving
Always.
suggestion. Serving suggestion only. Yeah.
See you soon.
See you soon. All right, folks. So Shelley will be back with us next week at the same time, same place, obviously, but for an extended amount of time. I'm going to play now a song by a band called Blood Ruby, who I used to host for a long time back. This is a tune called Remains of the Day. This girl had one of the closest voices to the sort of Kate Bush thing that ever submitted work to the website. So it was really lovely. And it's quite a dreamy tune. And after that, we're coming back and I'll be playing the next segment of Other Losses. So catch you in a few minutes, folks.
See how the landscape changed. Till it's gone, it's lost, but surely you know the
The amazing Blood Ruby there. They're still selling music online if you want to go look them up. Blood Ruby Music or Blood Ruby Band. Just have a little search for them. And do support them if you like the tunes. So I always find that's one of my favourites of theirs. It's a really relaxing one. Anyhow, on with James Burke's Other Losses. This is in reference to the fact that more German soldiers died after World War II than during it, during combat. It's just incredible, isn't it? And it's down to the conditions that they were kept in after the war, in the Rhineland, in the Rhine Meadow camps. So here we go. Without further ado, enjoy, folks. I will join you a couple of minutes or a minute or two before the end of the show.
So wurde das Brot eingeführt. Joachim Buff describes the extensive food supplies in his camp at Rheinberg.
Die Versorgungslage mit dem Essen war,
The food supply situation was like this. From the enormous mountains of food cartons stacked as high as a house, partly from German stocks, it appeared as though the food situation was excellent. Several times I saw that those handing out the food were sitting high up there on the boxes. And when the German officers came one after the other, each of them for his group of 100 or 10 soldiers respectively, they were told, "You're not going to get anything today. You were the major criminals." And then we returned to the starving and said, "We got nothing."
für die je Hundertschaft bzw. je Zehnerschaft hieß es, ihr kriegt heute nichts, ihr wart die Hauptverbrecher. Und dann kamen wir zurück zu den hungernden Leuten und sagten, wir haben heute nichts bekommen.
Britain and Canada had 2 million German prisoners who suffered far less than most others, although camps over Vichy and Aurich were hellholes of neglect and disease. Some German prisoners were seriously maltreated in the interrogation center in Bad Nendorf. Most prisoners were discharged in time to help with the harvest of 1945. The deadly conditions in the American camps were not confined to those along the Rhine, but prevailed among all 200 American camps in Germany. Major General Richard Steinbach, then a colonel in the United States 7th Army, took over a camp at Heilbronn, built for 200,000 prisoners.
I was deputy to General Van Leer, who was deputy theater commander to Eisenhower. In 1945, it became obvious that the POW camp at Heilbronn, which was in our area, was very badly managed, and that they weren't being treated properly. It was crowded, and more people than they should have had. We saw the men dug holes in the ground.
Were some of the men sleeping without any shelter at all, in holes in the ground?
Yeah.
They were.
Most of them.
Most of them.
They got about 1,100 calories a day.
And is that enough to support life?
No, it takes 1,700 calories to support life.
What did you think when you saw these conditions?
I thought they had to be corrected. I ordered the U.S. camp commander to get supplementary rations.
Have you ever heard of the Morgenthau Plan?
Yes.
Do you know what the plan meant?
It meant starvation for the German POWs and the German population.
When did that plan start operating, do you know?
Immediately after the war.
A little while later, Steinbach was sent to the U.S. on medical leave, and the shortages began again. Dragging the corpses out of Heilbronn was such a big job that the Army set up a sham hospital near the camp entrance where moribund prisoners would go to die. The guards wouldn't have to drag their corpses so far to the trucks. The chief medical officer in the sham hospital at Heilbronn was a private, Daniel McConnell, who had no medical training, no doctors, and no drugs beyond aspirin. After the war, the U.S. government awarded him 100% medical disability for post-traumatic stress disorder, largely because of his experience at Heilbronn. The Americans were not the only ones punishing Germans. More than 750,000 prisoners were delivered half dead to the French army to use as slave labor in France. The Americans transferred them in crowded, closed boxcars, along with coffins and boxes of quicklime to disinfect their corpses. The French sent thousands of prisoners into minefields with no training and inadequate equipment to dig up mines. Many of them were blown up. The French camp smelled so badly of decaying bodies and latrines that journalists noticed. Le Monde of Paris published in the autumn of 1945 a report by a bright young writer named Jacques Fauvet. As one speaks today of Dachau, in 10 years, people throughout the world will speak about camps like Saint-Paul-des-Joux, where 17,000 prisoners were dying so fast that within 2 weeks, 2 cemeteries of 200 graves each had been filled. This is a death rate of over 65% per year. In Europe at the time, the death rate among civilians was under 2% per year. In other words, for every normal death in Europe, 30 surrendered Germans died at Saint-Paul-des-Joux. Fauvet goes on. People will object that the Germans weren't very particular on the matter of feeding our men, but even if they did violate the Geneva Convention, that hardly seems to justify that we follow their example. Representative Jean-Pierre Pradevant of the International Committee of the Red Cross visited the French camp at Torrey-les-Pins in late September 1945, took photographs of the starving prisoners there, and wrote a report in which he said that the 200,000 prisoners in their present condition would not survive the coming winter. The commander-in-chief of the French camps, Major General Louis Buisson, wrote, "They were given enough food so that they did not die too quickly." Wolfgang Heinrich, 17 years old, was shipped from Rheinberg to a camp in France.
In Le Mans schossen manchmal die Bewachungssoldaten, das waren Franzosen, die schossen einfach mal so aus Spaß ins Lager, nachts. Und
in Le Mans, the guards, they were French, sometimes fired shots at random into the camp at night, just for fun. And well, it seems that most of the food was moved away, for food was so scarce in Le Mans that we became really weak. If you wanted to stand up, you had to hold on to a tent pole, so undernourished we were, even as young guys. Washing was impossible, and there were no toilets either. Instead, there was only a plank in front of a hole, and if a man was too weak to sit on it and fell over backwards, he was gone.
Und wer da in schlechtem Zustand sich draufsetzte und hinten überfiel, der war weg.
The French camps became known as les camps de la mordante, or slow death camps. In the summer of 1945, the Morgenthau Plan was incorporated into the Potsdam Agreement among the victorious Allies and was signed by Truman, Churchill, and Stalin. It turned vengeance into official policy, sanctioning the hatred which European civilians already felt. More than 16 million people in East Prussia, Silesia, Pomerania, and smaller areas were expelled by force from their land and their houses. They had to leave most of their possessions behind. The little they could take with them was piled high on wagons, handcarts, and even baby carriages. As the farmers trudged along the highways, their cattle followed in the fields beside them. The Soviet writer Ilya Ehrenberg wrote articles for his army newspaper Red Flag, urging Soviet soldiers to rape as many women as they could. Millions of women were raped. The poet Alexander Solzhenitsyn wrote in Shame about a rape in Prussia when he was a Soviet officer in 1945. In his book of poems, Prussian Nights, he wrote, 22 Horingstrasse. It's not been burned, just looted, rifled, a moaning by the walls half muffled, the mothers wounded, still alive, the little daughters on the mattress, dead. How many have been on it? A platoon? A company, perhaps? The mother begs, "Kill me, soldier." This poem, by a winner of the Nobel Prize for Literature, went unpublished for 30 years. Until recently, it was only by word of mouth that a few people in Germany and Russia could express what had happened. Some could not bring themselves to tell their stories at all. Anna Tuer was sent as slave labor to the Ukraine.
I haven't talked about it for years. I didn't want to upset my children. I thought they should grow up without any hate. I was a 17-year-old girl when I was deported to a slave camp in the Ukraine, in Kryvyi Rog, for 2.5 years. When I came back, after 2.5 years, I weighed 30 kilograms. I had lost my homeland. I had lost most of my relatives. And I was all by myself in East Germany. I never knew what happened to my mother or my grandparents. And I just wanted to get home, but we never got home.
It was not until 1990 that Johannes Heising, first a prisoner of the Americans and then of the French, who later became the abbot of a monastery on the Rhine, published a book about his experiences in the American camp at Remagen. Later on, another former prisoner at Remagen wrote to him asking why he hadn't described the American bulldozer that buried living men in their earth holes, while other prisoners screamed, "Murderer! Murderer!" Heising said, "We tried not to see the suffering in extenso and dying comrades. The horrors of the camp and occupation themselves imposed a form of censorship because the human mind protects itself from cruel memories by refusing to store the worst images." Even in the German Bundestag a quarter of a century later, self-censorship cancelled reality. The foreign minister, Willy Brandt, told the Bundestag in 1969 that the Foreign Office had to go into the book publishing business so that he could instruct a group of German authors in how to write about the 1.5 million soldiers still missing after 24 years. He told the whole nation that this was to prevent the authors from provoking a public discussion at home and abroad, which would open old wounds and would not serve the reconciliation efforts of the Federal Republic's foreign policy. At the highest levels of the German government, it was therefore official policy to say that only the Germans were guilty for the war. Only German atrocities would be counted. Education and the media were severely controlled so that the new generation grew up believing that their ancestors were uniquely criminal on a global scale. This good speak policy towards history is still enforced today. In Germany, what is known is not true, and what is true is not known. But Konrad Adenauer, who in 1945 was the mayor of Cologne, had not learned good speak. In 1945, Adenauer told an American Army officer to his face that thousands of prisoners had died because they were held in American camps in conditions contrary to the Geneva Convention. He quoted ordinary Germans as saying that the Americans were not much better than the Nazis. But the Allies, through their German servants, censored such comments out of the German media. So Chancellor Adenauer had to travel beyond Allied control to the Swiss Parliament in Bern in March of 1949, where he could speak openly about the German expellees, Adenauer said, and these are his handwritten notes, later reprinted in his memoirs, 6 million German refugees have vanished from the earth. They are dead, gone. This was even more shocking because the 6 million refugee deaths were in addition to the 1.5 million prisoner deaths. Germans and Allies suspected Adenauer was telling the truth, but the Allies angrily denied it in their newspapers. A few concerned people in the Allies' homelands spoke out with Adenauer. In 1946, the British writer and publisher Victor Gollancz made a widely publicized visit to the British zone where he observed children starving in the rubble, which had been Dusseldorf and Hamburg. In his books, Gollancz severely criticized the Allies and demanded food and shelter for the starving and homeless. The Canadian writer and broadcaster Robert Greer Allen reads from his report from Berlin in 1945, where he saw refugees in the Stettiner station.
People sitting on bundles of clothes, crouched by handcarts and little wagons, but they were all exhausted, starved, and miserable. You'd see a child sitting on a roll of blankets, a girl of perhaps 4 or 5, and her eyes would be only half open, and her head will loll occasionally, and her eyes blink slowly, as though she were only half alive.
In the United States Senate, American Senators William Langer and Kenneth Wherry protested vigorously against the situation in Germany, but they were ignored by the principal American media. So they went to see President Truman to persuade him to appoint Herbert Hoover to lead a famine relief campaign. Hoover had led a very successful food campaign after World War I, so he was able to start immediately a campaign for worldwide food relief. In 1945-46, Germany was excluded from all relief under the Morgenthau Plan embedded in JCS 1067. But Hoover and the Canadians soon extended the aid to the former enemy. The Canadian government under Prime Minister Mackenzie King committed so much food to the worldwide program that the government had to keep rationing Canadians' food until 1948. Canadian cabinet official Mitchell Sharp said, when asked why the government did this, "Why, it's what we do." In other words, he was saying, this is what people do. They always help each other unless they're prevented by force majeure, such as war. This enormous relief campaign was carried out by the American and Canadian people with some help from Argentina and Australia. Hooverspeisung, or Hoover food, served to children in schools, is remembered by many Germans still alive today. One child sent thanks to Herbert Hoover with this map, showing the route the food took by train and ship over the Atlantic to a school in Hamburg. But afraid of public opinion at home, the Allies had to hide what they were doing in Germany, so they also had to hide that the Allies themselves were causing the suffering. Therefore, the tremendous efforts of the food campaign went mainly unrecorded for 50 years, while writers and filmmakers in the West published thousands of films and books on their favorite theme, Germans as savage killers rampaging throughout the world, and they are still saying that. After Konrad Adenauer became the Chancellor of West Germany in 1949, he decided to investigate the rumors of mass deaths among the missing prisoners. He appointed the Ausschuss für Kriegsgefangenenfragen, or Commission into the Prisoners of War question, which in 1953 produced the names of over 1,154,000 German prisoners still missing or not accounted for after 9 years of so-called peace or pastoralization. The Adenauer government deposited this list of missing POWs in the United Nations in New York, asking for action. Nothing was done, although scores of monuments to German crimes have been erected in Poland, Germany, France, England, Canada, and the United States. Because of Cold War hostility, Adenauer's prisoner survey was incomplete in East Germany, and later surveys, including East Germany, showed that the true figure of the missing prisoners of war was between 1.5 and 2 million dead in camps of the USSR, the USA, and France. Among the civilians in all of Germany, disease and starvation drove the death rate higher than it had been since the Middle Ages. In Berlin in the summer of 1945, the death rate among babies and infants was almost 100%. The few tiny survivors faced a death rate 10 times the rate in the rest of Europe. Eva Berk was the young mother of a baby herself in a small town in Thuringia in 1945.
I had ration card number 2, and I was hungry all the time. It hurts in your stomach. It aches like you have a bad toothache in your stomach. All the time. Where would a soldier would have met an older man who had ration card number 5, which you could almost figure out on paper when he was going to be dead of starvation.
For years, the Allies imposed severe trade restrictions on the Germans to impede their recovery. Communication between the occupied zones was banned or reduced, making it impossible for normal business to revive. The Allies lifted all machines from many factories and carried them away. The press was discouraged from reporting these events. According to Herbert Hoover, he could believe only 1/10 of what he was told by the Morgenthau people, who reported in good speak even to him. Homegrown German food was stolen, along with wood, coal, and almost 1/3 of Germany's best farmland. Over $20 billion in reparations were exacted. That was the amount that the Allies admitted that they had taken, but the true amount was much greater. The American historian John Gimbel found that the Allies were hiding thefts between $4.8 billion and $12 billion in intellectual property alone, plus billions more in confiscated foreign assets, shipping, machinery, food, coal, and timber. The men having been killed, imprisoned, maimed, or enslaved, the women took over. These Trümmerfrauen, or rubble women, knocked mortar by hand from every single brick to rebuild the demolished cities, brick by brick. Starving mothers among them cared for their hungry children in basement ruins, meagerly supported by the food relief from North America. The situation in Germany was bizarre. The Allies were wrecking factories but demanding reparations from German industry, starving the people but forcing them to work, wreaking deadly vengeance but feeding them from sympathy. The more that the Holy Alliance covered up their crimes with good speak, the more they relied on good speak. The more they relied on it, the more they believed it themselves, until they literally did not know what they were saying. At a high-level meeting with the Russians in 1947, during the worst German starvation, U.S. Secretary of State George Marshall was so misinformed that he told the Soviets at the table that the Americans had taken only $10 million in reparations, whereas economist historian John Gimbel said that they had taken more than $5 billion worth, which is 5,000 times as much. The Soviets and the Americans each accused the other of lying about their reparations as the Germans starved to death in the streets outside the door. Unable to speak to each other honestly, the former Allies mistrusted each other so much that the Western Allies began strengthening Germans in the three Western zones so they could become allies against the Soviets in the East. The Western Allies reduced reparations, reformed the inflated currency, permitted immigration, and restored communications, although they did not restore free speech. The West Germans began the Wirtschaftswunder, or economic miracle. Starting with starvation and rubble and virtually no natural resources, the West Germans within 15 years had achieved the economic primacy in Europe that the Allies had fought for 2 world wars to prevent.
Well, there we go. Not the first economic miracle to have occurred in Germany within a decade, but one that certainly smacks of what Blackbird 9 would call let's you and them fight. Anyway, look, we will be back with you next week, next Wednesday, at the same time, same place on speakfreeradio.com. And yeah, look forward to seeing you then. Take care, folks.